Hi, I'm Haylee Skaggs, and I am beyond blessed to be sitting here today telling you about my journey with PRMA. I am a BRCA2 positive, and when they found a lump on my left breast, I decided to take action and become proactive instead of reactive. So I have a husband who I've been married to for almost 13 years. His name is Josh, and we have two children, Brooklyn, 11, and Jarrett, who's 8. We are very involved in our little community, and we're in church and 4-H and all kinds of sporting events and livestock animals. We have a family farm that we do a lot of. We raise milo and wheat, and I help a lot with the farm. I am the husband's hired hand. We live in a town called Vega, Texas. It's about 30 miles west of Amarillo, Texas. It's on the main route of Route 66, almost exactly in the midpoint. I came to Dr. Nastala in May of 2019 for pain in my chest. I was having horrible pain. I had had 7 failed surgeries prior. I just thought that I was making the pain up because I didn't understand why I was having so much pain. I had had the 7 surgeries plus many setbacks with those surgeries. When I came to Dr. Nastala, he kept telling me, I don't know why you're having so much pain, like I can't put my finger on it. And so he said, but I think a DIEP flap is your best option. And I said, okay. I said, what does that entail? So I spent 2 hours with him and Amy, who I love to death and terribly miss. But we spent the 2 hours with them, and at that point I knew God had sent me to San Antonio for a reason. And I said, let's do this. Let's schedule the DIEP. So we went in, we scheduled the DIEP, and we were going to remove my 800cc implants at that point and go from there. When Dr. Nastala got into my chest, he realized that everything that I was experiencing was more than what he realized. And my prior surgeries, in the last surgery I had, they had taken my implants and sewn them to my chest wall with fishing wire. And my right one had come loose and been flipping and wrapped the fishing wire up around it and had come to a ball, and that was causing me a lot of pain. He also found some silicone that didn't come from those implants that he took out, but also found the lymph nodes that were supposed to be taken out in my double mastectomy in my very first surgery. So Dr. Nastala went ahead and removed all of that as well. Then he, about 3 months later, did phase 2. I was scheduled to have nipple tattooing 3 to 4 months after that, and then COVID hit. So about a year later, I got the call to have my nipples tattooed. After having my nipples touched up, it was almost like a night and day situation for me, because I could get out of the shower and I felt more natural. It wasn't like, oh, I look like a freak, because I don't have what everybody else has. And it was funny, when I came for my graduation, the nurse that took Amy's spot was like, did you do nipple sparing? And I was like, no, those are fake. And she was like, oh, those look really real. So he did amazing. Like, I love Dr. Nastala. So going into surgery, I remember how scared I was about the pain, and just thinking about being cut hip to hip and being things moved to my breasts, and just the pain that I was going to be enduring, and thinking, okay, I know I've got a high pain tolerance, but is it really this high? And when I came out into recovery, I remember thinking the pain's not as bad as I anticipated, and this isn't as bad as I envisioned. The worst pain I remember was when the nurse would come in to get me to go walk for the first time, and I remember thinking, I'm going to be a hunched over 30-year-old lady because I cannot stand straight up. But as the days went on, and it got better and better, and I'm not a hunched over 30-year-old lady. I think the worst part of my 5-day stay in the hospital was that every 2 hours, the nurse coming in and checking my blood tissue in my breast to make sure I still had blood flow, because of the fact it was almost about the time I'd get really good night's sleep, or almost, you know, good and relaxed. And that's when she'd come in and put the real cold thermometer on my chest. But I mean, the nurse had to do her job, and I appreciate her doing her job. Since I was so far away from home, I had to stay in San Antonio for 3 weeks prior to going home. Nobody in the Texas Panhandle had ever heard of a DIEP flap. Most people thought I was crazy whenever I told them that I'd had it done and didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So I stayed here. I had a very supportive family and friends that stayed with me in the hotel to help take care of me until I was well enough to go home. Dr. Nastala, like I said before, he couldn't find my pain, but to sum it up, I'm that patient that most doctors scratch their head and say, I've never seen this before, I've never heard that before, but that's me. Or I'm the patient, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to happen to me. I had a few setbacks with my recovery. I did have some stitches that didn't dissolve, and I had to wound pack a hole, and then I had to have a couple of drains placed to have some seromas drained, but nothing that wasn't too bad, and it was not near the pain that I was experiencing prior with my implants. My care from PMRA, it was 1,000 out of 10. I could never speak highly enough about PMRA. Anything I've needed, they have done backflips to make sure that it's been done or taken care of. They have always made sure that I understood it and that I understood what they were explaining to me. I'm not in the medical field. Some things I was like, I don't understand, and they would make sure to explain it on my level. Either on the phone or in the office, they always made sure of that. I've never been rushed in their office. They've always taken their time and made sure that I am understanding and just made sure of it. I know that I was receiving the best care in the state of Texas, and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I tell everybody I know to go to PMRA. I know I'm partial to Dr. Nastala, but any other doctor I've seen at PMRA has been amazing. I wish I would have known about the DIEP flap before having my 7 prior surgeries. Originally, I had a double mastectomy surgery. I had expanders. My body rejected 2 sets of implants, and then one kept flipping. That was taken out, replaced, and put back in, or not replaced. It was taken out, washed, and put back in. And then I had textures implants put in, and later found out they were sewn to my chest wall, and then they were also recalled. I love my results. My husband and I just went for my graduation from PMRA. With COVID, it kind of got stretched further than planned, but we went for my graduation in Dr. Nastala, and we were all talking and looking at pictures from previous to now, and my husband and I both looked at each other and were like, wow, we didn't know how big of a difference it is. And I think looking back, I truly could have been a story on the show Botched, and it's amazing to see that I didn't have to go to, I think they're in New York or California, but I stayed in the state of Texas. PMRA does have the best doctors in the state of Texas. They truly care about their patients. They're here for you. They're not here for another payday. They're here to make sure that you are taken care of and you walk the journey with them. They always make sure that you are cared for and loved. Every time I've come in, Dr. Nastala wants to know how my kids are, how my family is, how life is in our small community, and he's always worried about, now you're not driving at night, are you? And he's always very concerned. I could not speak highly enough about them.